Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Jeff McKay. Today, we're going to go through our user group meeting about patient preparation. With us today is Dr. Goldade. Dr. Goldade, thanks for joining us.
Great, my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And Mark is here as well.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
Today, we're going to go through preparing patients, and we're talking about a very specific application. So Brightsquid has built, in collaboration with a number of different clinics, looking at usage patterns, an appointment reminder system that ties into MedAccess and PS Suite. Mark will show you how that works. And what we've seen people using it for, actually there is COVID-19 screening built into the application. People are sending instructions. Here's what you need to do before your appointment, or here's how to get to your appointment. Here's our policies for different things. Forms and questionnaires, so collecting information in advance of appointments. And we're going to talk about Dr. Goldade's experience. Dr. Goldade's been using appointment reminders for a couple months now, and has really kind of put it through the paces. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll save the majority of our time for Mark to do a demonstration. Patient preparation, COVID-19 screening. What we've seen is COVID-19 has accelerated a number of things in clinics to the point where we've added additional work for people. We've had to find virtual or technology tools to help manage things differently. We've seen clinics who started doing COVID-19 screening on the phone, and that was very tedious and time consuming. Here's one clinic's experience saying moving COVID-19 screening to Brightsquid saves staff 8 to 10 hours a week. So that's managing really kind of 4 clinics or 4 clinicians worth of patients. And so we worked that out to an average of about a minute and a half per appointment, which is about, if you're looking at 100 appointments a week in a typical family practice, you're at about 2.5 hours of staff time on the phone. That also leads to tied up phone lines for people trying to call in and ask questions or book an appointment. And it's not very rewarding work for staff. It's tedious and repetitive. It's what we call, high touch and low value work. I mean, it has to be done, but there's definitely more productive ways to spend staff time. Whereas if we move to automatic screening, so this is triggered by your calendar, 0 minutes of staff phone time, other than you can see at the bottom, we're talking about managing exceptions. So Mark will show you what that looks like when somebody maybe fails their COVID-19 screening. So you have time for staff to do other more high value tasks, and your patients are more satisfied because they can get through more easily when they're trying to call. So pre-appointment instructions help patients show prepared and on time. It can also reduce physical interactions in the clinic, so passing pens and clipboards back and forth. We'd like you to fill out this form before you go, or some clinics might be using tablet devices, something like that everybody's touching with the wipe down. And the kinds of things that we're seeing clinics communicate in terms of instructions, procedural prep requirements, obviously it's a big one. Hey, you're coming in to have your ear syringed tomorrow. This is what you need to know to be ready, or any other procedure, please bring your medications. Please don't take your medication if you're on any of these types of medications. Here's what to do when you get to the clinic. Wait in your car and call us, or come take the elevator up to the 3rd floor, whatever that is. This is our mask policy, our guest policy. Can I bring my kids? That sort of thing. What's our cancellation policy? Here's how to get to the clinic, and here's parking instructions. So stuff like that is super useful. Virtual care support as well. So we're seeing a lot of phone consults. Here's what to expect during your phone consult, or here's how to send us information we need in advance. Like, if we're having an appointment for a dermatological issue, here's how to send us a photo that is useful to your doctor that they can review before or during your phone consult or video consult, or here's instructions for logging on to the video consult software. That kind of stuff is helpful in making sure that things are smoothly, because clinics spend a lot of time making sure that their appointment preparation is smooth and effective and efficient. And patient preparation for appointments is almost a last step. So forms and questionnaires, we've certainly seen a lot of benefit to clinics in collecting information in advance. What are the details of your complaint? Here's the first 5 to 10 questions the doctor is going to ask, right? And we have clinics doing that, and they've actually been able to get to the point much more quickly in the appointment. It actually focuses patients' attention, sending them questions in advance. They have time to consider it, right? let's say they're coming in for headaches, and you give them a few days to ask their spouse, what do I eat when I get these headaches, or how frequently do I really get them? So their answers are a little more thought out. And then the clinician actually can start to formulate a direction and move to a conclusion much more quickly with that information in advance. And so, Dr. Goldade, you've been using appointment reminders for a while. I know you're using it in kind of specific ways. Some of the things that you've told us about how you use it are here on the screen. And the first thing I kind of want to address, because I know you've tried some different appointment reminder services, but you said that the Brightsquid version is way simpler than other options. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so I've been with TELUS Practice Solutions for, well, quite a while now. And I'm going to say a couple of years ago, they said, hey, we've got these appointment reminder, this product. Do you want to give it a try? And I'm usually quite keen to try new things. So we tried it. I had my staff on board with me, and I'll just be really blunt. They were so complicated. They were just so hard to use and set up. And I don't know, I didn't really feel like I had great support. Like I'd call them up and say, this doesn't make sense, help me do it. Anyway, point was, after a couple of months of each of those ones, we just flat out stopped using them. They just weren't user friendly. And then I was asked if I would try Brightsquid, and I use Brightsquid for secure email. So I thought, okay, let's give this one a try. And oh yeah, way, way, way easier. And it was me who set it up. Now it's pretty simple. I mean, I could have had my staff do it, but I didn't want to freak them out again. Didn't want them to have to be the ones to try it. So I tried it. And if it was simple enough for me, which it was, to set up, I mean, you could set up your own templates. And I mean, I don't even think I use it to the fullest, but that was the part that sold me on it. It's just really easy to use.
Can you talk a little bit about your practice and what the experience has been like from any patient feedback or changes to how things are operating with the implementation of Brightsquid appointment reminders?
Right. So I'm a community pediatrician. There are two other pediatricians in my practice, and truth is they had no interest in trying this appointment reminder thing. They tried the other two, and again, it didn't go well. So they said, nope, don't want to be a part of it. So I said, okay, I'll launch in by myself. So that's another point. The whole office doesn't have to commit. I mean, one doc can do it. Mm-hmm. And then I had my two staff join me, and we started out. And so, I mean, I created my own templates. I mean, they were based on emails that we had been sending out to invite or to have parents, because I'm a pediatrician, the parent confirm the appointment. And it didn't take that long to get used to it. And so now I've got one staff who used to do all the appointment reminders, and I can tell you that I myself have the Brightsquid appointment reminders open on my computer at all times, and periodically either she or I go through it and we find out who decided not to come. It's really, really easy to navigate.
And it's interesting from my perspective as somebody who tries to send emails to people, and obviously with the secure mail side of things, we're sending messages to people and tracking who accepts their invite thing, and all of us on this call are familiar with that process. But your engagement rate is really, really good, and it speaks to we've taken sort of our experience with secure mail. So you're sending 423 reminders a month, and the number of patients, so 86% of those reminders get clicked on for patients to go through and confirm or ask for a change of the appointment or fill out their COVID-19 screening or look at the instructions. 86% of patients are doing that, which is really high. So, to put some context on that from let's say a marketing email perspective, 20% open rate. So 20% of people reading your message is really good. Is good. 30% would be, wow, we did a great job. Let's pat ourselves on the back. So 86% of people engaging with that message is very impactful. It's a really high number. And I think one of the other things you said here, Dr. Goldade, is that staff is happier, right? For really just 35 cents per patient or per appointment. That seems like a really good value. How is that sort of materialized for you?
Well, I mean, I don't know the exact stats, but it feels like maybe 2 a week choose to either cancel the appointment or we couldn't reach them. Now, I see about 15 patients a day as a specialist, but what that means is the majority of them, it's all teed up, it's all set up, everything's great. My staff only has to tackle a couple of people that they've got to track down and find out if they're really coming or not. Just that in itself made a huge difference timing wise, and I totally appreciate you said at the top of the session was that really is tedious work. My staff doesn't like it, but now they don't have to do it. It's great.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Well, Dr. Goldade, thanks so much. I'm gonna turn things over to Mark.
Okay, I will turn on my screen broadcast and I'll jump right into the demonstration. That should be coming through right about now. And so this here that I'm showing you is the point of view from either the MOA or in Dr. Goldade's, the doctor, the clinician, for configuring the outbound appointment reminders. Now, to step back a little bit and sort of level set and set the table a little bit here, this is all running off of an integration between the Brightsquid Appointment Reminders service and your EMR. In this case, I'm connected to a MedAccess EMR, but as Dr. Goldade mentioned, she's using PS Suite. So we can connect with either one of those as needed in your particular clinic. And once we configure these things and set them up, they just run automatically in the background. So we're going to configure appointment reminders to go out to patients defined on a specific schedule for a typical or a particular type of appointment, and I'll talk about that in a moment, and also who the appointment is with, that is to say which doctor you're working with. So what you're seeing on my screen right now is the configuration page for appointment reminders, and I've configured appointment reminders in 6 different ways. And I should point out that we call the service appointment reminders, but that's kind of selling it short. To be honest, it does appointment reminding. It also asks the patient to confirm that they're coming. And to Jeff's point, it also provides answers to those frequently asked questions that patients always have. How do I find you? Where do I park? What does parking cost? Do I need to take a Tylenol before my appointment? How well should I prepare for my appointment? What forms should I fill in and bring with me, or what have you? All of that is built right into the application. So really, it's harder to say, but more accurately, it's appointment reminders, confirmation requests, and answers to frequently asked questions to your patients. So in the example you're seeing here on my screen now, at the most basic, we have regular appointments. And so if I look into this, and we'll take a look here at how we actually configure the appointment reminders to go out, we look at 3 different parameters for when we're going to send a reminder to a patient. And remember, once I set this up, it's fire and forget. I don't need to go back here and push a go button every day. This just runs automatically throughout the course of your day to send the reminders to your patients. So here's the most important part. This is the configuration parameters where I decide when and why and for whom I'm going to send reminders. So I've chosen in this example, regular appointments. In this case, I've ignored things like COVID-19 vaccine doses or flu shots and so on. I'm just worried here, or not worried, I'm just focused here on appointment reminders for regular appointments. And I have several doctors working in my clinic. In fact, because this is a demonstration environment, I have dozens of doctors in my clinic. But we've only turned on appointment reminders for these 3 individual doctors who, not creatively, are named Dr. 1, Dr. 2, and Dr. 3 Brightsquid. So any appointment reminder that is of the type regular and is going to be attended to by one of these 3 doctors, we'll send reminders out for. And lastly, when are we going to send those reminders? You can send reminders to patients up to 3 times for any given appointment, and you can schedule them as far in advance as 3 months or as close to as 1 day or 24 hours prior to the appointment. And in addition to that, and this is a new feature that Dr. Goldade, you're probably not even aware of yet, this is something we're launching next week, you can actually send different wording to your patients depending on the status of their appointment. So to put that another way, the first message we send to the patient is the confirmation. Dear patient, please confirm you're going to show up for your appointment on Thursday, and that encourages them to click a button and confirm or decline. If they've already done that step, so in the example above where they get a reminder on 5 days out, 2 days out, and 1 day out, well, if our patient confirms on the 5-day notification, the follow-up notifications on day 2 and day 1 are just friendly reminders. So it's a much more friendly experience because the patient now will get a reminder after 3 days to say, hey, we know you've confirmed. We're looking forward to see you on Thursday. If you have any questions, let us know. Down here towards the bottom, once we've configured, when, why, and for whom we're sending appointment reminders, we have a couple opportunities here to send out different types of appointment reminders and include additional information. And by additional information, this is what Jeff was referring to. We've built in the ability to do COVID screening right into the appointment reminder service. So just by turning this option on, the patient will be presented with a form, which is just simple point and click to check boxes and so on, to answer the basic COVID-19 screening questions we've become familiar with over the last 2 years. And additionally, you can include attachments. In this case, I've attached a couple of PDF documents. One is directions and parking, and one is just some background information on COVID-19. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask you to go with me on a little journey over to the patient's point of view. So I'm going to bring down the email, and this is what it's going to look like when the patient gets the email in their inbox saying, hey, are you going to make it on Thursday, January 27th? I should point out that I'm showing this from an email because appointment reminders can be delivered to patients via their regular old-fashioned email address. They can also be sent via text message. So depending on which information is available in your EMR, those messages can go out through whichever channel is preferred for that particular patient. But here, let's go ahead and confirm that this pretend made up patient named JBKW is going to show up. So let's click on confirm appointment. And this takes them into the Brightsquid portal where they're asked to verify their identity. And they verify their identity by providing their date of birth. There we go. So now that I've confirmed my identity as patient JBKW, I now have this opportunity to complete the things I've been asked to complete, which in this case are confirm or decline the appointment. If the patient confirms the appointment, it automatically flows through to the EMR and changes the status in the EMR from booked to confirmed. Conversely, if the patient chooses to decline, we don't make an automatic change in the EMR. Instead, we actively notify you to say, patient JBKW has asked to decline their appointment, and then a person can contact the patient, potentially reschedule them, or try to convince them to come in, I suppose. Down here in the rest of this appointment, we can see some specific information based on the type of appointment that this patient is going to be having. In this case, our patient is actually having a virtual online meeting using the Zing online meeting system. So we've included instructions on how to log in to a Zing meeting or GoToMeeting or Zoom or what have you. So all of the information that this patient needs in order to attend the meeting is all right here at their fingertips. So let's go back up to the top and we click on confirm for this patient. Their status changes from yellow to green, and that's all there is to it. So now let's go back to the MOA's point of view and have a look at what's happened on their side. If I go here to my upcoming appointments window within the Brightsquid system, we can see all of my upcoming appointments, I should say. And the two with the green bars are where I want to focus everyone's attention right now. You can see that I was just acting as JBKW, who has confirmed the appointment, so they're in green. Now it's a video visit, so that's all there is to it in this example. However, you'll notice for my friend Bob down here, who is also coming in on Friday, this is a in-person appointment for a pulmonary function test. He's also confirmed, but he's also filled in his COVID-19 screening questionnaire, but he's answered at least one of the questions, which brings his risk level up. So this is a literal red flag that indicates that Bob may need special handling when he comes into the clinic. If Bob hadn't answered any of the questions in a worrisome way, this would be a green lozenge as opposed to a red one. But either way, I can download and view all of his answers to the COVID-19 questionnaire and then make an appropriate decision on how we're going to deal with that when Bob turns up at our office tomorrow at 4 in the afternoon. As I mentioned before, all of this happens somewhat automatically once this is set up and configured. I do want to quickly show the templates window, and you can actually make as many different templates as you need for each different type of appointment that's important to you. So you can see here in this clinic, I've created appointment confirmations for flu shots, for PFTs, for virtual visits, HPV activity, and regular appointments and so on and so forth. So I can configure my appointment reminders to be as simple or as in-depth as I need to, depending on the needs of my clinic. So I don't necessarily have to create all these different templates. I can just use one, which I think is what Dr. Goldade does. But if I want to make a more customized reminder and provide more specific bespoke information to my patients related to their particular appointment, that is what's available to me here through the Brightsquid appointment reminder, confirmation request, and FAQ answering machine that we offer here through the integration with your EMR.
The connection there to answering machines and your phone tree, right? A lot of us at clinics are used to saying, press 1 for location information or hours of operation. And there's a really good analogy there. We do have a couple questions, Mark. How many attachments can be included in a reminder configuration?
You know what? I don't think there's actually a limit on the number of attachments. I think functionally, I wouldn't want to send more than 5. But if you have a good reason to send it, then there's no limit. The only real limit that I would suggest is that nothing larger than 500 megabytes, which is enormous if you're not aware. A typical PDF document or a photo or things like that are generally going to be between 2 to 10 megabytes. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and it's kind of good practice. We've seen people use 7. I've seen 7 attachments on reminders. So, it kind of depends, and it's going to be variable probably, for a standard checkup or something like that. There might be 1 or 2, patient onboarding will be different. Anything that's got a lot of instructions would change again. And then can you talk a little bit about how this gets set up, Mark?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's an integration with Brightsquid appointment reminders, and it does need to connect to your EMR. So there's really a 2-step process there, where first we'd have to make all of the connections. Without getting too technical, we just have to make the 2 systems talk to one another, and that's done by signing off on a couple of documents from your clinic main custodian. That's shared with the EMR provider, and then the connection is made. Once that connection is made, all of the configuration steps can be done, which I showed you in a very abbreviated fashion. And so a member of our tech support team, whether myself or one of my colleagues, would work with you, your MOA, whoever the appropriate person is in the organization, to do those configurations, at least set up the first one. And then it's very easy to go forward from there and start customizing your configurations as needed specifically for your clinic. So it's a very easy process, and as we pointed out already, it's very GUI related, so it's very graphical, point and click. There's no need for if, then, else, and complicated programming to set these things up.
Mark, can you talk about the cost structure? What's involved in that way?
Yeah, probably the most important question of the day. Just very simply, it's $100 per month per 1,000 messages that you send out. So, if you're sending out 2 reminders per appointment and you have 500 appointments a month, that would be 1,000 messages going out. That would be $100. Because if you add on more than that, if you're doing this for multiple doctors and you have more than 1,000 messages going out, it just expands commensurately, much like a cell phone plan would for more usage. But the basics is $100 per month.
And I know we're at time. I just want to add a quick point there and wrap this up. But that 1,000 reminders is not per clinician. If Dr. Goldade's other 2 colleagues decided to join, they could share in that allotment. What we've seen is, some clinics might share 1,000 across 2 or 2,000 across 3 clinicians, that sort of thing. It gives you that flexibility. So that gets us to our time. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. Dr. Goldade, thank you so much for your time and insight there. Your experience is very valuable, I think, for our user group. So thank you very much for giving that to us today. And Mark, as always, thank you for your thoughtful demonstration. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day.